Hello, hello, and welcome to Decaf, a production of the Beacon Center of Tennessee. Taylor and Mark back with you. Mark's got his jazz hat on. Mark, a weekly jazz update. How are we doing?
It's not going well. There's five losses in a row. They just won last night to break the streak, but they went from first to ninth in their side of the league in 1 week. So not great.
Okay, not great.
This is more of what was expected. And if you would have told me, you kind of try to think of it from the start. If you would have said at this point in the season, the Jazz are 13-11, I would have been ecstatic over the moon. So I'm trying to think of it like from that context before the season, how excited I should be.
Yes, how excited you should be. I love that.
Also, I bet on
Alabama's doing pretty well.
I know. I bet on them to win the SEC in basketball. I got them at like 9-1. So I felt good.
Let's go.
Before they beat North Carolina. They're a good team.
They are a good team. I'm really excited. Maybe the Jazz will get another Alabama player next year, and you can get me another jersey. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, Sexton's kind of been the biggest disappointment on our team this year, but I'm hoping he can figure it out.
He'll turn it around. He definitely will.
So.
So last week on the podcast, we talked about what we were thankful for. And what I was thankful for was school choice and ESAs in Tennessee. At the time that we recorded it, the case was still in litigation. About an hour and a half later, we got an email from Justin saying that the courts had dropped the ESA case, the case that Nashville, Metro Nashville and Shelby County had filed against the state's ESA program to halt it. We didn't re-record the podcast because we had so much going on, but we also get to talk about it this week. Huge victory for students, parents, schools in Tennessee that the courts have dropped the case. We don't know what could happen from here. There could be more. We don't know. But as of right now, the ESA program in Tennessee is barrier-free, and I'm over the moon. I don't know about you, Mark, but I am like absolutely giddy over this.
Yeah, and of course, I think that neither of us, we talked about this a million times, that neither of us are lawyers. So, but I think what happened was they actually upheld they didn't drop it, they upheld the previous court's ruling, saying that it was in fact constitutional that Shelby County and Davidson County could go forward with this program. So it's actually, I think, even better than dropping it. They're saying like, oh yeah, we are affirming the fact that it is in fact legal, which is a big deal. And honestly, at this point, I think that it seems like the other side's running out of options because this is now 2 court cases in a row they lost. And the biggest part is that next year, because of everything else, I think they can keep challenging it, but this program will go into effect next year, and there's no question about it. So that's a really, really exciting, moment for the state of Tennessee.
It's absolutely huge for parents. We've talked about this a lot, and we did a lot of research on it at Beacon, the learning loss issue that happened during COVID. And, there are a lot of great public schools in Tennessee, but there are also some public schools that don't fit students' needs, and every kid is different. And that's kind of the point that we always try to make is the money should follow the kid. The money needs to follow the student. If a school isn't meeting a student's needs and another school can, then the parents should be able to send their child to that school with little to no barriers if we can provide those for them. So I'm really pumped. We also have our National School Choice Week coming up in January. We will be having a huge event here in Nashville on January 24th. So if you want to participate in that, hit me up via email or Facebook message. But I think it's going to add a lot of fuel to the fire of excitement during National School Choice Week that 2023 is the year of the ESA. I'm so excited.
And I think that, I don't want to be negative towards people, but I think that at some point, Davidson County, Shelby County, the ACLU, these organizations stop suing over this. What is your problem? You can disagree with public policy, but stop suing over it. This is good for everybody. It's to me, it clearly has nothing to do with any of the mission of what the ACLU is supposed to believe in. And Davidson Shelby County, they have other issues to work on. The whole reason, that this has even passed in the first place, or that people felt it was necessary, is because in a lot of cases, they are not educating their students the way they need to. So instead of worrying about this lawsuit, why don't you worry about how to better educate children and stop focusing on suing people who are trying to, have a better education for kids? Because it's just, I can understand, people can have disagreements on things. I don't agree with them. I think, arguing against school choice is about the worst argument you can make, but you're allowed to have a different opinion. But let it go. This doesn't involve you. It's now been legal twice. Drop it and move forward and try to figure out how to better educate the children in your area.
We need like a soundbite of that. Quit suing and educate the kids. I like that. Your dad should put that on a t-shirt. We're really coming up with like a
lot of t-shirts.
a lot of t-shirt ideas. Honestly, I'm at the phase right now where I'm like, all I have is band tees and old sorority tees. And I need some t-shirts that actually mean something. So stop suing and educate the kids. If someone wants to make us some t-shirts, we will proudly wear those. So if you have any questions about the ESA program, that's why I'm here. If you are curious about how to enroll your child in it, hit me up. I can help you with that. I love to do things like that. And I would love to help more and more kids get enrolled in this program and see a huge life change for the education of some kids. Let's talk about a spicy issue really quick, Mark. This week, everybody knows, it's no secret, Mark and I are sports people. We just are. But Mark hates soccer. I don't love it, but I love the World Cup. And the U.S. played Iran in the World Cup on Tuesday. And through the thunderstorms, I sat and watched the game, kind of. I worked and watched it. Soccer's kind of slow. But the real entertainment came before and after the game, when Iranian reporters were asking U.S. players the most insane questions. Mark, tell us what happened, and then we'll give some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so before the games, they asked, I guess, the U.S. star player, and again, I don't even follow, soccer. I think the last person I can name from the U.S. is like Landon Donovan, that's like 12 years ago, I think.
That was like when I was in high school.
Yeah, I don't know. But they asked the star player basically like, as an African-American, how can you play for, a country that is, that doesn't respect the rights of African-Americans? They talk about the Black Lives Matter protests, all that stuff. And he gave a great answer. He was like, well, I mean, every country has its issues with that. And truthfully, compared to the rest of the world, we're actually really good. And of course, it's so insane coming from Iran to talk about human rights. That is just obviously
Literally
the most insane thing. And I guess he's just trying to get a soundbite. After he got mad at him for mispronouncing Iran, I guess he called it Iran instead of Iran, whatever. And the journalist got mad at him for doing that. So it was this weird, moment in the Iranian press. Obviously, they asked the head coach some questions too about, why they don't have human rights. And it was just insane. And, at the same time that there's this complete uprising in Iran, and, there's these people who are finally standing up against their government. And again, if you're standing up, you might get killed by them. You really might be. So it's like, it's this just absolute, it's amazing that a reporter from Iran could talk that way. It's like they're either so disconnected from reality, or they're worried if they don't ask this question, will I be executed by the government? Again, there's no such thing as a free press in Iran. So it's not like they basically work for the government.
Exactly. I thought about that a lot when I heard about this issue, and we're right on the heels of these women in Iran paying with their lives for protesting, getting to show their hair and not wear a covering on their head. The government forces them to cover their heads, and these women are fighting for the right to simply not wear a covering on their head, and they're fighting for it with their lives. They're risking their lives. And then, you have the Iranian players who come out and don't sing the national anthem because they are not proud of what is going on in the nationalism in their country. And then a reporter asks that question to an American player. It's like they're grasping at straws. It's all they can. They're just trying to make themselves on some type of moral pedestal when the entire world knows that the most grotesque human rights violations are coming from their country. I just got to say, it was great to beat them. I have American pride. I always cheer for America, Olympics, World Cup, whatever it is. I got a lot of pride in our teams, but to beat Iran, the country that represents a bastion of freedom, to put the beat down on a country that is absolutely just violating human rights left and right. We can't even keep up with it. It was pretty beautiful.
Yeah. And it's, what is the term they say? It's like, if you accuse somebody else of being guilty of something, you're most likely guilty of it. And I mean, that feels like what Iran, and again, to the extent of actually murdering people. This is not like actually
murdering people.
Yeah, exactly. Like that disagree. And of course I think that probably it was a government or a decision by the Iranian government saying, hey, let's kind of put pressure on them to maybe take some of the heat off us right now, which is not going well. But it was, I know that it was pretty exciting to see, outside of everything else, to see the U.S. move on in this tournament. I mean, I think they were kind of favored to, but it was supposed to be kind of them and Wales for that second spot. So I know the tie against England was a big deal because obviously, like thinking about historically, England is
huge.
One of the top 2 or 3 countries in the world for soccer. So being able to tie them and then move on to the next round is a big deal. As somebody who doesn't like soccer, I understand the significance of it. And I also saw kind of some of the Vegas odds and the brackets that they actually have a real chance, the U.S., to make the Final Four because of
that would be so sick.
To get probably just massacred there, but like their next 2, I think they play the Netherlands, who's good but can be beaten, and like and then they play the winner some other matchup that's not a bunch of great teams. So I think if things go well, there's a real chance they can make that Final Four, which would be, I mean, just from a U.S. standpoint, that'd be insane and an awesome thing. Kind of when you see those weird NCAA tournament teams make like the Sweet 16s, they played a bad bracket. It would be like that, where it's like you're not obviously one of the best 4 teams in the world, but it would be still really cool to see that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about a sport that you actually are interested in.
Thank you.
I'll give you this. Oh, but before we do, the first World Cup I ever watched was the headbutt. Do you remember the headbutt?
Oh yeah, Zidane.
Yes,
from France.
Zidane.
Yeah.
He headbutted the guy, and every time I think about the World Cup, I think about the headbutt. I was watching it live, and that was absolutely insane. So let's hope for some more spicy content this year in the World Cup. Let's talk about some sports that you do like, Mark. We can talk about football. I was happy, giddy, excited, joyful, over the moon this weekend because anytime we beat Auburn, it's a good day. Anytime Alabama wins and Auburn loses, it's a good Saturday. It's even better when we're the ones that beat them. But let's talk about the shakeup in what's going on with the top 4 going into playoff season. I mean, Michigan put the beat down on Ohio State. Completely unexpected. Because you said it. I was a doubter. Oh, ye of little faith. That was me. I am a go blue because one of my best friends is a go blue. And I just hate Ohio State. Like, sorry. I mean, their coach is very handsome, but I can't stand them. And I was thrilled. I mean, I was shocked, but I was thrilled. So what does this mean for the playoffs, you think, Mark?
So really, and I do need to go on a tantrum about Tennessee after this and actually defend Tennessee, which is insane. So this will be, I know. So it looks like regardless of what happens in these championships, that Georgia and Michigan will both be in the playoffs. Even if they both lose in the championship, they have enough quality wins, and the win over Ohio State was big. Yeah, and Georgia obviously has a couple big wins. The third team is TCU, who I love. I'm really excited for. That's who I'm cheering for right now. They're undefeated. There's a lot of question. They have their championship game against Kansas State, who's a really good team. They're a top 10 team. If TCU wins, they're definitely – if they lose, the general consensus is they're still probably in, but it's not for sure. Now, I think style points matter a little bit at this point. So if they lose by 4 touchdowns, they might be out. So then it kind of comes down to this point where the general consensus, if USC beats Utah tomorrow night, that they are the 4th team in there. If they lose, that's what brings things crazy. And at that point, it's probably Ohio State, but then people are trying to make the argument for Alabama, which is insane. I cannot imagine. If that happened, I would boycott college football forever. But then there's that, and then you have.
No, you would not. You're so full of it. You're full of hot air. You would not.
We would need to change. I know we're 12 teams, but you would have to get rid of every single person in that playoff committee would have to be honestly put in jail. That's insane if that happens.
Straight to jail.
So it seems like Ohio State is kind of the first team out, where if USC loses, they'll be in. If TCU loses bad, they might be in. If they both lose, then it'll probably be Ohio State and TCU or Alabama. It's just, we got 2 teams in. I think most people think TCU is going to be in. I think they deserve to be. Because again, you shouldn't be able to punish a team for making their championship game, right? They're undefeated. If they get their first loss in a game that Ohio State or Alabama are not part of, that doesn't feel very fair to me. And they, to punish them. Now, the biggest issue I have, and this is, I am going to completely defend Tennessee. For whatever reason, the SEC gets such a bias, but Tennessee doesn't get to take part in it. Last week before the game, you had LSU, a team that Tennessee beat by 30 points on the road. Both had 2 losses, and LSU was ahead of them. Alabama, a team that Tennessee literally beat head-to-head, is somehow still ahead of them. I need some explanation for why that's the case. Tennessee beat Alabama head-to-head. They have the same record. Alabama has no wins of any value. They really don't. I mean, their best win is Texas, who's unranked now. It is just insane. And Tennessee has gotten the absolute shaft from the committee. And it's like, why even play the games if they don't matter? because obviously beating Alabama does nothing. You have the same record and you beat them head to head. And Alabama has no better wins. Their losses are, you talk about, LSU now has 3 losses. This is not a great loss anymore, right? And South Carolina's playing well. They just beat Clemson. So it's not like Tennessee's loss is really any worse. So I just don't know at what point do we just say, let's not play the games. We'll just put Alabama no matter what. We'll put Georgia no matter what. We'll put Ohio State no matter what. That's what it feels like. Those 3 teams seem to get such preferential treatment. And it's insane. I don't know what to do about it. But if I'm a Tennessee fan, I am absolutely livid. There's no point in playing games because you beat the team and you're still behind them. I don't get it. And if somehow Alabama gets in the playoffs over Tennessee, like if both those teams lose, if I was a Tennessee fan, I would, I'd call for everyone in the world to be fired. It is absolutely absurd. I've not defended Tennessee at all. You know that. I don't care.
It's true. You don't defend Tennessee.
Don't care about the quarterback situation. That's not relevant to the games that took place in the field. You can't rank people on what you think is going to happen when it's not happened yet. So I think the committee should honestly be absolutely ashamed. Tennessee should be in front of Alabama, and not one person should vote for Alabama over Tennessee. If Alabama had a monster win, had one less loss, something like that, I could see it. Alabama has 2 losses to, good-ish teams. They have no good wins. They should have 4 losses if you count Texas A&M and Texas, which nobody wants to talk about that.
That was bad. I can't talk about that.
Alabama's a very mediocre football team this year, and the fact that they're number 6 in the country and they're even they should be about 11 or 12, and Tennessee should easily be ahead of them. So I honestly think I take LSU with 3 losses ahead of Alabama right now. They beat them head to head. That matters how you play against a team. So that's where I'm at. I think the Tennessee fans should be in an uproar. I think they should call to disband the rankings, the committee, because it's awful. It's awful.
I'm sitting here giggling because I am obviously an Alabama fan. However, if the tables were turned and Alabama was in the position that Tennessee is in, I love more than anything a strongly worded email. I will send a strongly worded email. I will complain about anything because I know they don't get read. But I would send some strongly worded emails to the SEC commissioner himself, to the college football playoff committee, all of them, because if Alabama were in the position that Tennessee is in right now. So I do get it. I do feel like it's unjust. We do appreciate justice in sports, even though it rarely ever happens. But I honestly, Mark, I hate to say it, but I really do agree with you. I was sitting at the bar on Saturday watching the Alabama game, surrounded by 2 non-Alabama fans, and a man walked up to me in an Alabama hat, and I gave him a good old Roll Tide, as we do. And he said, he was very drunk, and he said, "It's not over for Alabama. They're going to get in the playoffs. Just you wait and see." And he walked away, and all 3 of us were like, he's kind of insane. Paul Feinbaum said on his show yesterday, because, I follow Paul, he said it's over for Alabama. Do you like Paul Feinbaum?
No, of course not. He's awful.
Okay. Well, we love Paul Feinbaum.
Every SEC team is like the greatest team of all time.
Well, Roll Tide. But Paul Feinbaum even said yesterday it's over for Bama. It's over for us. If we do get in the playoffs, I will be giddy, ecstatic, over the moon, but we don't deserve it. Tennessee does deserve to be there more than we do, even though that loss to South Carolina was embarrassing. I hate that these words are coming out of my mouth, but they are, and I want you to enjoy them this one time and one time only. This is the only time I will ever say it, but I do, if we're talking about justice and fairness, it's true. I agree.
I want to reiterate, though, Tennessee has absolutely no business being in the playoff either. It's not like they.
But before Alabama.
Yes, yeah. I think they're 6 and 7 right now. In my thing, they'd be like 9 for Tennessee and like 11 for Alabama. Tennessee does not deserve to be there. Getting a beat down by South Carolina eliminates you in my mind. But if it's a head-to-head matchup, the fact that, especially going back to last week, the fact that LSU was ahead of Tennessee is also insane. There really is this huge, and even though there's this huge SEC bias, but it doesn't correlate to every team. And for some reason, I think Kentucky kind of gets the bad end of that too. Kentucky and Tennessee just don't get the same love as LSU, even Auburn when they're good. It's just, it's really disheartening. And at some point you can't vote based on reputation. You have to vote based on how good this team is. It's not how good this team's been the last 10 years. I get why Alabama would be ahead of them. It is really, really, I think it's anybody with common sense, which obviously you do have, understands that Tennessee should be above Alabama.
Thank you.
Not one smart person who's not a completely, drinking the Kool-Aid thinks the opposite. So I think that, hopefully this doesn't matter, right? Because in the end of the year, whether they're 6 or 7, although it could end up being that Alabama gets like a New Year's Six bowl and Tennessee doesn't because they're ranked higher.
Yeah.
But as long, I mean, for the most
Right.
part, if it's 6 or 7, doesn't really matter. But the point is that if Alabama somehow, like, imagine this was 4 and 5, because it'd be the same rankings. You're talking about the last playoff team as opposed to the first team out.
I know.
It's awful. One quick shout out. I want to give a shout out to Tulane. They had turned it around. This is their first. They're in their conference title game. They beat Cincinnati last week. They're 10-2, and they've never made the conference championship before. So they play first game Saturday against Central Florida to go to a New Year's Six game. So we're excited for Tulane. I bet on them to win 10 games. So they won me $1,000. So because of that, I am very happy for the Green Wave. Daniel Erstheimer's a big Tulane fan too.
Yeah, shout out to Daniel and the Green Wave. I love that so much. Before we head out, it is officially Christmas season. This is being recorded on December 1st. It is Christmas season. My lights are up. My mistletoe is up. My mantle is decorated. My tree is up. They've been up for a couple weeks now.
It was Christmas season for us early November.
Yeah, we're big on Christmas, but it's officially Christmas season. And the best part of Christmas season for me is sitting on my couch. I do this maybe 3 times a week. At the end of the night, I don't make any plans, fix myself a peppermint tea, and I watch a Christmas movie. So, Mark, what are your favorite Christmas movies or movies that you recommend?
So let me first make everyone mad at me. I don't like the classics. I don't like movies from 1960 or 70. I don't like, like the Ralphie or like, not that I hate them. Those are not in my rotation of Christmas. I know they're too old for me. Like It's a Wonderful Life. Fine. Not a movie of mine. I don't like it that much. So I have 2. One's a comedy. I think this was the one that everyone would agree with, that Christmas Vacation is just such a good movie. So funny.
Priceless.
Clearly the best holiday movie.
Priceless.
My other one is kind of a comedy. I think most people would hate this. And I like Elf too. So but I think Four Christmases. I love Four Christmases. It is fantastic.
Mark, that was one that I was going to say.
Oh, I thought you were going to disagree with me.
I say that.
No, I didn't.
I say that all the time. I quote the taboo scene when she's like, the thing I helped you come up with when you the thing I helped you come up with that night you came home from the bar, alibi, good.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. It's so good. I love that movie.
I like the one with his mom and then his friend where she's saying all these like gross sexual things.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And then the things I did with my friend. Well, one of the things I quote this year round, anytime I'm in a place and I want to leave and I've just got to go, the vibes are bad and I got to go, I just go, mistletoe. They got to get out. That's a great movie, Mark.
Tim McGraw's in it, being a redneck guy wrestling his brother. No, it's a really good movie. And I don't think it gets the credit it deserves. I think you have movies like Elf, which very good. I'm not trying to trash Elf, but Four Christmases deserves a lot more love because it's a very, very good movie.
Mark?
Yes. Yeah. You're up.
Okay. I thought I lost you there for a second, but Four Christmases is one of the very best. My favorite ones have got to be, well, obviously I'm a girl, so The Holiday. I love The Holiday.
That's the one with Cameron Diaz?
Yes.
That's a good
and one. I can do a one-woman show of every Cameron Diaz line in the entire movie. I've seen it so many times. I was actually watching it with someone the other night, and before we watched the movie, Brenna, my roommate, said, "Are you going to perform your monologue during the show?" And I was like, "No, I'll let the movie do it. But if I'm asked for a performance afterwards, I will perform an encore." So I love The Holiday. But you know what? And Mark, I want you to love this movie. I really want you to love Charlie Brown Christmas. I know it's an older movie, but it's Charlie Brown. And he gets out there and he tells the Bible Christmas story and they make the tree pretty. And it's just, there's just something about it. Charlie Brown Christmas with Snoopy and Woodstock and Linus and Schroeder playing the little Vince Girardi, whatever his name is, trio pianos. It's just so good. I mean, you don't even like that one?
I like it fine. I mean, here's the problem: is it's an old movie and it's a cartoon movie. I don't like either of those a lot. I think it's basically as good as it could be for those things being the case. But it's never going to be on my go-to list. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't want to watch it.
That's fair. I also love. I mean, talk about just the crass movies that came out when we were in high school. Just Friends with Amy Smart and Ryan Reynolds,
That's
where
not a Christmas movie.
That is a Christmas movie,
No, it's
Mark.
not. Just Friends is not a
Go
Christmas
back
movie.
and watch it. That is
not.
a Christmas movie.
It's
Go back
a
and watch
comedy.
it.
I watched it
Okay.
like probably 6 months ago.
Whatever.
It has Christmas elements.
Whatever.
It is not a Christmas. Also, I mean, this is really dark, but Bad Santa's a great Christmas movie.
I've never seen that.
Oh, you would not like it. It's
Okay.
really raunchy and like it's a very dark Christmas movie, but it's very funny.
Well, okay, here's a hot take question. Do you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
Yeah, I'd say that's closer to a Christmas movie than Just Friends. I think you're the first person to say Just Friends is a Christmas movie ever. Just because it's around Christmas
Google
season,
it.
it's not a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie. All right, we're going to fight on this because I will die on this hill that Just Friends is a Christmas classic.
Oh, there's actually there's a little article on it. Is Just Friends? Yeah, it says Just Friends isn't a Christmas movie. That's literally the title of it on Desiree News. I put is it a Christmas movie to be fair. So no, other people agree it is not a Christmas movie.
Okay, well, whatever. In my mind and in my heart, it is. So if we're talking about the Grinch, you probably don't like the original cartoon version of the Grinch, but do you like the Jim Carrey version?
I do. And that's actually, Kira's favorite Christmas movie is The Grinch, the new one. So I do like that one. It's very good.
I love that movie. I quote it all the time. Anytime I'm like going on a date or going to an event, I say, "But what will I wear?" When he like is trying to figure out what to wear to the celebration.
That's a pretty good Grinch impression, actually.
Oh, Mark, I'm
better
really
than I
good
thought
at
it
my
would
Grinch
be.
impressions.
I didn't know that.
I can recite the entire scene where he's doing his schedule. He's like, dinner with myself. Can't cancel that again. I
don't want you to be clear.
Really,
I do believe you. I don't want to get any of this.
Just trust me, the Grinch is one of my best impressions, and we'll just leave that at that. But I might break out the voice a couple more times before Christmas season is over. So anyway, we have taken up a lot of time talking about Christmas movies and sports. Again, big shout out to everyone who worked on the ESA case. Big shout out to the parents who spoke up to make this thing happen, and big shout out to the state elected officials who stood their ground and stood firm on school choice for children. We are so thrilled that this is happening. Again, if you are interested in enrolling your child in the program and you don't know where to get started, contact me. I can help you out with that. Mark, any final thoughts before we go?
Nope, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, for the first time, but not the last time this season, Merry Christmas from Decaf. We will see you next week. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we'll talk to you soon.